Hello and welcome to today's video. This is History with Natalie. I'm Natalie Broomer and today we're going to be talking about the movie legend Charlie Chaplin. If you like historical and biographical videos, then this is the place for you. Start now by clicking subscribe and the notification bell. Charlie Chaplin was born on April the 16th, 1889. His mother was a singer and his father, also called Charlie, was a stand-up comic. His parents separated when he was young and his mother would sing to provide for him and his older brother Sidney. It was during his mother's performance when he first hit the stage. Her voice broke during the performance and Charlie was pushed onto the stage and told to do something. The crowd loved him. By his teenage years, Charlie's mother was committed to an asylum. His father had died from alcoholism and he and his brother were in a workhouse. Upon leaving the workhouse, Chaplin took several jobs while trying to break into acting. His first part was a role in the Sherlock Holmes production. In 1908, he joined the Fred Karno Repertoire Company, which brought him into contact with the right people. Stan Laurel was also a member at that time. In 1910, Charlie had the chance to tour America with the Fred Karno Company. This is where he met the movie producer Mack Sennett. Mr. Sennett offered Charlie $150 per week and the chance of continuous work. His first movie was called Making a Living and was released on the 7th of February 1914. However, it is in Mabel's Strange Predicament where he invents his infamous tramp character. It was an instant hit. After his contract ended, he signed with S&A Studios with an offer of $1,200 per week, plus a $10,000 signing bonus. Chaplin made several films with S&A, including the Tramp movie. Mutual Films poached Chaplin with an offer of $10,000 a week, making him the highest paid actor in Hollywood. He made 12 movies with Mutual Films and would later call these times the best times of his life. In 1917, Charlie Chaplin created his own studio and partnered with First National to release his movies without any interference whatsoever. He also co-founded United Artists with Mary Pickford and D.W. Griffith, giving them total control of their pictures. In 1920, Charlie Chaplin's first feature film, The Kid, was released and he was now the most famous movie star in America. Charlie Chaplin had a tumultuous personal life. He married Mildred Harris in 1918 after she claimed she was pregnant. When no baby arrived, he claimed she tricked him into marriage. They divorced in 1920 while she was pregnant for real this time. The same year he met Lita Gray and they married in 1923 when she became pregnant. Lita files for divorce 4 years later and their personal life is broadcast to the nation. Chaplin married Paulette Goddard in 1936. They starred in some of his most famous movies together, such as The Great Dictator. Their divorce was amicable and they remained on good terms. While being married to Paulette, Chaplin conducted an affair with wannabe actress Joan Barry. She had an obsession over him, even going so far as to say Chaplin was the father of her daughter Carol Ann. Barry sued Chaplin for child support and blood tests provided he wasn't the father. However, at the time, blood tests were inadmissible in the court as evidence, so Charlie Chaplin was liable for child support. In the mid-1940s, Chaplin met and married his fourth wife, Una O'Neill. They were married for almost 30 years and had 8 children together. Charlie Chaplin met many influential people on his travels around Europe in the early 1930s, including Albert Einstein. He became increasingly concerned about the rise of nationalism in Europe and wanted to do something about it. He was also angry with the Great Depression, making scores of people unemployed. His film Modern Times was his first that was a commentary on the society and politics of that time. Chaplin was somewhat sympathetic to communism. In 1939, he released his first talkie, The Great Dictator, a satire of Hitler and nationalism. By 1942, Charlie Chaplin's loyalty to the US was being called into question, and many of his films were not as well received as before, especially in the end scene of Monsieur Verdeau, where he compared capitalism to mass murder. He also said all the Americans were implicated in the bombings of Hiroshima. By November 1947, the Hollywood 10 were jailed for refusing to name communists in Hollywood. Chaplin, along with others, were blacklisted. While promoting his film Limelight in England in 1952, the Attorney General of the US cancelled his re-entry visa, and Chaplin would not return to the US for several decades. Chaplin and his wife settled in Switzerland in 1953. His movie in 1957, A King in New York, was semi-autobiographical. The plot of the movie concerns a king who flees to America but suffers persecution there. This film was banned in most US states for being un-American. During the 1960s, he suffered a stroke that left him partially disabled. In 1972, Chaplin returned to Hollywood to accept an Oscar, and he received a standing ovation. He also received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at this time. Mr. Chaplin suffered another stroke in 1974 and was now wheelchair-bound. On December 25, 1977, Charlie Chaplin had the stroke and passed away in his sleep. 3 months later, his body was stolen by 2 refugees who wanted to gain a huge ransom, but this was to no avail, and his body was later reburied. Although Mr. Chaplin may have had a questionable love life, he was, and still is, one of the greatest film stars to have ever lived. Thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we welcome any comments to help improve future videos.